Hello everybody, Ben Woodruff here with another Falconry video. There's moose over there. I can keep an eye on that. In today's Falconry video, I'm going to be talking about two of my absolute favorite falcons. My favorite falcon species and the falcon species that got me into falconry. So today we're talking about peregrine falcons and Lanner Falcons, two absolutely incredible species. Historically speaking, with their interactions with humans, and with my love of these species. But before I jump in, if you haven't already, if you could hit subscribe to my channel, I very much appreciate it. If you want to support me on Patreon, there's a link down in the description below. But let's jump into these birds, okay? These two birds, again, my absolute favorite. One's more famous than the other, but in the old days, the other one was more famous. So I'm going to talk about these biologically, and then I'm going to talk about them in regards to their interactions with humans and in falconry as well. So let's just talk about the species themselves. So Lanner Falcons first. Lanner Falcons are an ancient species. They are part of the Hierofalcon group, which consists of gyrfalcons, saker falcons, Lanner falcons, lagger falcons, also called lugger falcons, and oddly, the Australian black falcon. These five falcons are considered to be kind of the origins of falcons, genetically speaking. Some people have gone so far, some geneticists, to say that Lanner falcons are kind of the parent of all falcons, that where they all came from. That might be a bit of a stretch, but the Hierofalcon group, again, gyrs, sakers, lanners, laggers, and Australian black falcons, very cool, very interesting species. They can all interbreed in captive breeding programs that's happened, and sometimes in the wild. Now, my favorite falcon to fly right now, admittedly, is a gyr. My favorite gyr is a gyr that's brown its first year and molts in white. There's some that are white to begin with, but that's my favorite bird to fly because I need a challenge. And so I do not recommend gyrs as the first bird. Gyrs are very hard to work with. They're very rascally, they're very intelligent, but very rewarding. So I don't consider gyr falcons to be my favorite falcons, but my favorite to fly currently. So if you watch some of my other videos, I'm like, oh, gyrs are my favorite. Yeah, to fly currently. So let's talk about these Lanner Falcons. Lanner Falcons live in a very diverse range of habitats. They can be found throughout most of arid Africa and also into the savanna region. So they're all the way down to South Africa, but they're also in Egypt, throughout the Middle East, and they range into the Mediterranean. In historical times, like medieval times, Lanner Falcons ranged as far as Europe, like even Northern Europe, which is pretty cool. As one would expect, with that diverse range of habitats and ranges, you're going to have a range of color phases adapting as such. Normally, when you get to kind of the Mediterranean and sort of the European and the old British Lanners of the past, they kind of look like a peregrine falcon with a red head, with like a red cap, and really defined, beautiful mallard stripe with a double back mallard stripe turning down. Very handsome bird. Like bits of, yeah, I don't know if you can see, it's raining, but it keeps snowing and then raining and snowing and slush snowing and keep having big old pieces hit. So hopefully that doesn't, ruin on the mic. Hopefully, I always have mic problems. Anyways, back to the Lanner Falcons. So Lanner Falcons, again, those very far northern ones, very speckled on the chest, very blue on the back, like a proper peregrine. But again, these are Lanner Falcons, and they start all Lanners. I got to say this too. I'm going to compare these two species, Lanners and peregrines. Their first year, they can be a light individual or a dark individual, but they all basically start off brown, some sort of chocolate brown. So here's an image of a first year peregrine falcon from Utah. And just so you know what this bird ended up looking like, you can see as an adult, he became very colorful. And Lanner Falcons are the same. Lanner Falcons, here's a first year Lanner Falcon. And of course, Lanner Falcons color up as adults as well. So both of them start off brown. And if you're not really familiar with the species, you could mistake them. I could have a first-year Lanner, a first-year peregrine, and be like, I'm not sure which one it is. If you're not as experienced, they'd be easy to mistake. But as adults, you can definitely tell them apart. So that's the northern Lanners. Once you get into the Middle East, they're more pale. And in the hyper-arid regions of the Sahara, you get what's called the Erlangii subspecies, which I really love. It's as pale as the desert. Anybody who knows me, I love Red Rock Desert, and I love, desolate white tan desert. And I'm usually wearing some, tan shirt, tan pants, tan hat. I love that color. And these are Erlangii subspecies Lanners. They are so pretty. They are white, so they have the same markings, but it's like if you muted everything down. So the back is dusty. The chest is almost completely white. They have the mallard stripes, but they don't even really have the red on the head. Maybe a little bit of a cap, but not much. And honestly, a regular Lanner is far prettier, far more attractive. Not that that matters. I'm just saying visually speaking. But because I'm so used to these beautiful Lanners, then seeing an extreme pale morph, I'm like, wow, because it's different, it's unique, novelty. So I have never worked with an Erlangii Lanner Falcon. I would love to. From what I hear, they're not the best. Well, I'll get into the falconry aspects of these birds later. But boy, they're pretty. They are beautiful birds. And but again, Lanner Falcons range all the way down to South Africa. And interestingly, I've flown kind of Mediterranean Lanners, but most of the Lanners I have flown have been South African. And in my opinion, South African Lanners are the most beautiful of the Lanner Falcons. Their chest is almost completely like a pink red. There's almost no flecks on it as an adult. The back does have the blue, but it's faint and it looks like it has dust over it. So it's a beautiful kind of a dusty hue to it. Very defined mallard stripe, very defined double mallard circling back, and a beautiful red cap, and just colorful, striking. So Lanner Falcons, and again, I'm going to get into the humanity part of this lab, but I'm just going to talk the biology first. So Lanner Falcons are, they're only an old world species. They are hunters, and they are on average a little smaller than peregrines. Peregrines range in size, depending on where you are in the world. But again, Lanners are usually a little smaller than peregrines. Lanner Falcons they'll hunt birds, they will hunt bats, they will hunt mammals. In Egypt, they love to hunt a type of lizard that has a big spiny tail. I just heard a goshawk. I was calling to him the other day. There's a goshawk. The goshawk pair used to be over here, but they've moved over here. So it's kind of why I'm up here too, hoping to see some goshawk action while I'm up here. Anyways, can't help but hear it. I hear that. It's so exciting. So again, back to the Lanner Falcons. Lanner Falcons. So in Egypt, they'll eat these lizards that have these big old spiky tails, and it's called an Egyptian Euromastix lizard. And they're very slow growing. But it's one of the things they like to eat. Lizards, strange. They'll eat rodents, so they're kind of a generalist, and they're kind of an opportunist. Now down in South Africa, they love to eat sand grouse. Now down in South Africa, it's pretty dry, and so anywhere you have water, it's a magnet to all life. And so you will have sand grouse. Now sand grouse are a fascinating species. There are several different species of sand grouse, but they're a very fascinating group, because they're technically grouse, but they've become much more aerial than most grouse. And they'll fly far distances to get water, and then they bring water back to their babies. How do they do that? How do you bring water? Well, what they do is they have feathers on their chest that have developed and evolved to be more absorbent and retain water in this sort of a capillary action. So these sand grouse will come down to the water, they'll drink up, fill up their own crop, and then they will put their breast feathers down in and have it suck up water almost to like a third of their own body weight. And then they'll fly back to the nest, and the babies drink from the feathers. It's not like a tube, they're just like seeping it off of the feathers themselves. So it's a fascinating survival strategy, but it makes a bottleneck and a great opportunity for where hunting can take place. And so a lot of wildlife photographers down in South Africa, they get some of these amazing shots of sand grouse sitting around, and then Lanner Falcons coming in and doing these incredible acrobatic maneuvers. Lanner Falcons are very capable, they're very fast, they're very acrobatic. but they would prefer not to be if they can. They would prefer to phone it in a little bit. Somewhat similar to a prairie falcon. I do not compare I think I've done a video comparing prairies to Lanners, but I do not think of them as very comparable at all. They're very different birds. But that is one way, the attitude. It's like, well, you know what? I can do something as amazing as a peregrine, but I don't want to today. That's kind of the attitude, both in the wild and in captivity. Lanner Falcons, they're fairly tolerant of humans, more so than prairie falcons. They will nest closer to people, and sometimes they will nest in very low, like little rock outcrops, just like 5-6 feet tall. You nest where you can, which is pretty amazing. They're beautiful species, and I'm going to get into the human part in a minute. Don't worry. Got to get to peregrines first. Again, we're doing biology first. So again, Lanner Falcons, really cool, very beautiful, and arguably the oldest continuous falcon species on the planet. Okay, now peregrines. Peregrines are the most famous species of falcon on Earth. The word peregrine basically means like wanderer, partly because they love to migrate, and also because they live like absolutely everywhere, just about. There's a few places they don't live. They don't live in New Zealand, they don't live in Antarctica. But other than that, it's like they just about live darn near everywhere. Northern hemisphere, southern hemisphere. So I don't play football, but I've been told, I don't even know the rules of football, you guys. I am so woodsy and so disconnected from traditional sports. But I've been told that, when you're trying to, you make your moves, but then when you see an opening and you can just take it, you run as far as you can. You're just like, this is what we just got to make this happen. Run, 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 run. That's what peregrines have done, okay? Different birds go out and fill different ecological niches, different roles, and they kind of adapt and co-adapt with other animals. Okay, you're going to push back here. Oh, we got prey availability. Oh, you can't handle the cold. Whatever peregrines did, and I'll list some of the things they did right. They just did it right, and they're like, charge, and they have conquered the planet. They live in jungles, they live in deserts, they live in mountains, they live absolutely everywhere. Now, in the modern age, this is not always it, but one of the keys to their success is their willingness to put up with humanity and human incursion. So specifically, for example, cities. We build these big giant cities. Peregrine falcons do not build a nest. They don't make a stick nest. They just nest on a ledge or in a little cave. Well, a skyscraper is a cliff. So you nest on the side of a skyscraper. And what other animal has adapted to city life? Pigeons, which in the wild, pigeons, rock doves, used to nest in cliffs and canyons. And now they're nesting in the city, so the peregrines come in, they're eating the same prey base. Peregrine falcons thrive in just about every major city of the world. I think, I live in the Salt Lake Valley right near Salt Lake City, and I think there are 4 or 5 peregrines nesting on buildings in our cities here, just in this one valley, in the city. It's amazing. So if you're willing to put up with people, you're gonna do great. Prairie falcons do not. This is why prairie falcons are I'll put up a map. The range of prairie falcons is pretty darn small. And we know genetically that prairie falcons came from peregrines. They branched off, and peregrines just did everything, and prairies were like, we're just gonna kind of stick out here in the hyper-arid deserts, and we're just gonna kind of hunt horned larks and meadow larks and like kangaroo rats. We don't want to be by people. Oh, if people start to build a farm near us, we're out of here. We're not, and peregrines like, I don't care. There's people, we'll deal with it. Peregrines love it. They do fine with it. Now, that's not to say that humans haven't caused amazing problems for peregrines. Of course, peregrine falcons almost went extinct in the United States and Canada because of a pesticide, a poison called DDT. This was supposed to be safe. In fact, there's old videos of them spraying it on kids, this bug spray, spraying it on kids in swimming pools to show, look how safe it is. It's not going to harm you. But it turns out the bugs die, little birds eat the bugs, falcons eat the little birds, and that DDT poison spreads through their system, and it makes it so their eggs don't hatch. Or the eggs don't even lay at all. And so peregrines almost went extinct in the United States. Prairie falcons fared better because they were not hanging out as close to humanity. They were in a little more arid regions where you didn't have as many crops and therefore as much pesticides. So it's a win-lose situation, right? It depends. If you hang around near people, you're going to, like, I'll give you an example. There's Utah is in an enormous drought. I'm up here in the mountains in a rainstorm, but the state is in a drought and has been for like 15 years. And a lot of areas, a lot of wildlife is gone. It's just gone. The rabbit hemorrhaging disease has killed off most of the rabbits, and then the eagles start hunting badgers and coyotes instead. And it just goes down the road, and eagles are not breeding because they're like, well, I can barely find enough food for me, so I'm going to pair up but not lay eggs. So it's an interesting time. And I was in a national park the other day, and these ravens were taking food from people. And on the one hand, it's like, oh, that's bad because that then they're dependent on people, and I agree with that sentiment. However, think about it. There was no crows in this area where there used to be. There's no magpies where there used to be. There were so many other birds where there didn't used to be that are fearful of humans. These ravens have learned, hey, you know what? Times are hard. The humans have some good food, and they were smart. They would take the food and they would go fly 40, 50 feet away and bury it. They had like a little midden, a little place where they were storing food because they don't know when their next meal is going to be. Now, I'm sure they are still hunting lizards and still hunting bugs and whatever they can out there, but they're like, you know what? These humans have food and they're willing to share it. Okay, we need that protein, we need that nutrition because times are hard right now. And instead of being like, no, I must stay wild, I'll just die. Bleh. It's like, okay, that's actually really smart. Realizing that, okay, using humans as a source to survive in dire circumstances, that's actually smart. So it depends on how you look at it. So prairie falcons being standoffish towards humans have not spread all around the world like peregrines have. However, that also, because peregrines are fine with humanity and human incursion, then the peregrines almost went extinct locally because of that pesticide that the prairie falcons weren't bothered by. So kind of interesting how that works. Peregrine falcons are beautiful. They're so beautiful. They are, the first year they're brown. They could be a light brown. They could be a dark brown. Depends on the species. In Utah, we get 3 peregrines that come through here. We have the Anatom peregrine, which, by the way, I'll show another video clip again. Anatom peregrines, well, okay, let's look at a field guide. You look in a field guide in the Anatom, oh, it's got a little bit of red, sure. Yeah, you look at my peregrines from Utah, they are as red as a Lanner Falcon on their chest, as a South African Lanner. So you have a lot of regional divergence of color and pigmentation dispersion that is just absolutely fascinating, because you will never see a field guide that will depict an Anatom peregrine as colorful as the Anatom peregrines here in Utah. By a long shot. So again, 3 peregrines in Utah. We've got Anatom peregrines that live here, year round, and also migrate in. We get tundra peregrines that come from the Arctic that will migrate through, and we occasionally get Peel's peregrines. Now, Peel's peregrines are from the Pacific Northwest. They are the largest and they are the darkest. Between the 3, Anatom peregrines are like the best peregrine. Now, people who have flown red-naped Shaheens, which almost look like a Lanner, it's an old world peregrine, have told me they are even better than Anatoms. So I haven't flown one yet. I've flown hybrids, but I haven't flown one yet. So, take that what it's worth. Anatoms, near perfect bird. Tundra peregrines, especially a wild trap tundra peregrine, incredible birds. Peel's peregrines are so crotchety and cantankerous, they're almost not a peregrine. They're still not as cantankerous as a gyr or a prairie or even a saker, but they're still a peregrine. So they'll still train up well. They're just aggressive and not like a goshawk aggressive, but they're not just like, you can just hold an Anatom barehanded. It's like, oh, hi, how you doing, friend? I'm just hanging out. But, there's a Oregon junco, little bird. Sorry. It's just neat seeing all the birds here. Anyways, it's neat knowing some of these ranges, because again, this just all looks like forest, but to know, okay, here's where this range starts and ends of this pair of hawks and this pair of owls. It's kind of fun. It's kind of exciting. Okay, so back to the peregrine falcons. Peregrine falcons live everywhere. Again, they want to nest in cliffs. They will nest on buildings of all kinds. They will in the tropics, especially in Southeast Asia. Usually they nest in hollow trees, which is kind of strange. Usually a big hollow, not like a kestrel. A kestrel will get all the way down in, but still, if you have a big old open broken section off of an old growth tree, hey, That's their version of a cliff. Peregrine falcons are bird hunters. They do not want to catch mammals other than bats. They will if they have to, but it is rare. Where a prairie falcon, they're like, sure, you got a rabbit, I'll catch a rabbit. You got kangaroo rat, sure. You got the winter ground squirrels and some of these even prairie dogs, they'll catch those. They're like, hey, it's food. So prairie falcons are far more adaptable in that way. Peregrine falcons, they want to catch something on the wing. They don't want to catch it on the ground. They want to catch it and keep going and carry it up somewhere. They'll hunt birds anywhere from as small as a sparrow or that little Oregon junco over there, all the way up to sage grouse, geese. I've trained them to hunt Canadian geese with Peel's peregrines. It's a lot for them to do, but knock them out of the sky. You're going hundreds of miles an hour, aim for the head and neck, knock it out of the sky. So peregrine falcons, again, bird hunters. Pigeons are about darn near perfect. Pigeons, pheasants, ducks. They hunt wild ducks regularly. I see it all the time in northern Utah, up near the Great Salt Lake and the Bear River Bird Refuge. It's pretty neat to watch. Watch a wild peregrine knock a duck out of the sky. It's like, wah, wah. It's sad for the duck, but it's nature. What are you going to do? So peregrines, highly effective, highly incredible species that has won the lottery. Like they have adapted everywhere. No falcon comes anywhere close to that. No falcon is just like conquered the world. And so hats off to them for that. They're doing something right. And they look different everywhere you go. They have differences, but everywhere you go, they're still beautiful. They're striking, the markings, the coloration, they're very beautiful. So now let's go into these two species in their use in humanity and falconry. So Lanner Falcons arguably have the oldest interaction with humans for falcons in history. Now, that might be trumped up by the fact that at an ancient prehistoric, like 7,000-year-old site in Alaska, archaeological site, this ancient Inuit village, they found the remains of gyrfalcons, and it was established that these gyrfalcons were healthy, that they were not butchered or eaten, that they were buried reverentially, and that their harm had not supposedly come to them. I don't know how they tell that. You know, these could have just been sacrifices. We don't think they hunted with them, but it still would denote that maybe there was some sort of care and husbandry going on. But other than that, Lanner falcons are the oldest because of ancient Egypt, because the Lanner falcon is the inspiration for the god Horus. Now, when you get into some of these ancient cultures, they're not so concerned about species. Like, we're like, oh, that's a red-tailed hawk. That's a rough-legged hawk. Or back then it might be like, hey, there's a hawk. Oh, that one has some red on its tail. It's like, no, it's a red-tailed hawk. It's a different species. But we know the Lanner falcon was the primary falcon for the god Horus. Later on, other falcons were kind of also represented, different types of kestrels and different hobbies, different falcons that passed through Egypt. The god Horus was so revered, and he's so key to the Egyptian mythological pantheon that you see Horus everywhere. Now, the Egyptians did not pronounce his name Horus. The Egyptians pronounced his name Hor, H-O-R. Which that sounds like something else. So otherwise I'd use it. Otherwise I'd be correcting people all the time. Be like, it's actually the god Hor. But it's like, that sounds off. So, but H-O-R, Hor, is how the Egyptians pronounced it. But Horus, the Greeks coming to Egypt adopted him as their god, and they added Horus. Same thing, the goddess Isis, it was like east, and they added the sis on the end, Isis. The Greeks are always changing things. So the god Horus was so important and so vital, and the Lanner falcon is basically the national bird of Egypt. There are bigger birds. There are bigger vultures that were highly revered in Egypt. There are big eagles, like steppe eagles and some of these big eagles that come into, and tawny eagles. These big eagles. But we basically never, ever at all see eagles depicted in any Egyptian any Egyptian anything. We just really don't. And from the earliest time, the falcon was kind of like the protector of the pharaoh. So there is a pharaoh who united Egypt. His name was Narmer. And on this, it's kind of primitive because this is way back when, this is the first dynasty. There's this palette and the two sides. And one of the sides, it shows the pharaoh, and he's cut off the head of his enemy, he's holding it up, and it's being supported and helped above by a primitive, crude depiction of a Lanner Falcon. So the idea is like this is blessed by or provided by the strength and might of the falcon. And from that smiting pose goes for thousands of years. Pharaohs always use it, smiting the enemy with the blessing of the falcon. And one of the titles of the pharaoh was the Falcon. Which again, I don't know why. Maybe Egyptians just had good taste, but they didn't stick with their eagles. They wanted a falcon to be kind of their symbol. They would mummify falcons in mass. We found thousands of falcon mummies. We know that they raised them at some of their temples, which is pretty incredible because of some of the first falcon husbandry. We don't have any record of Lanner Falcons being used in falconry. It could have happened, but we don't have any records. We don't have anything depicting that. I like to imagine that to be the case. Humans are innovative. Humans come up with falconry on their own, just messing around. So maybe there was falconry in ancient Egypt, but we know that they kept Lanner Falcons. And that's one of the reasons I love them. It's like, that is the falcon, man. Lanner Falcons are so cool. Now, in falconry, Lanner Falcons are a mixed bag. I've had some great Lanner Falcons and I've had some crappy Lanner Falcons. To be fair, I'm in the United States where our propagation laws for breeding raptors are ridiculous. So nobody does it. And so to get any new breeding stock in, especially from another country, practically takes an act of Congress. So other countries, they can do selective breeding and produce a better bird and have more options. Not here. And so half of my Lanner Falcons here have been great. Half of them have been absolute crap. They just didn't get it. And that's with me having years and years and years of experience that normally it's your own fault. If your bird's not doing good, it's your fault. What are you doing wrong? But some of these birds, it's like, something's wrong with your head. Is there some inbreeding going on or something? Like, seriously. This could be the case. But Lanner Falcons, a lot of people use them. South Africa, which by the way, South African Falcons, again, I think, South African Lanners, I think, are the prettiest of the Lanners. And they have a very good track record. People in Africa, Southern Africa and South Africa proper hunt a wide range of birds there. People do not realize how much wild, small game is in Africa because everybody just thinks about the big animals. But there's tons, from guinea hens to, I think it's called black francolins and different things. People hunt them with Lanner Falcons, hunt pigeons and sand grouse, just like the Lanners do in the wild. Have a great old time. Lanner Falcons, in British history, in medieval times, in European history, the Lanner Falcon was considered the first step before you got a peregrine. A peregrine falcon is considered a proper hunting bird. And so get a Lanner Falcon, learn how to hood it, learn how to jess it, learn how to fly it to the lure, learn how to do weight management, fly that for a year and then go set it free and then get a peregrine falcon. That was kind of the mentality. And in some European countries, it probably still kind of is the mentality. Lanner Falcons, again, they're like a prairie. They can be the fastest bird on earth if they want to, but if they don't want to, they don't want to. And so Lanner Falcons are built for the desert. And if you're in the desert, you have softer feathers. So you see this with sakers, you see this with jeers. I've never held a lugger, so I don't know. But Lanners, jeers, sakers, Lanners, and Australian black falcons, they all have kind of soft feathers. They're kind of soft and more bendable for a falcon. That keeps you from drying out. That holds the moisture in better, but it also slows you down a bit. It makes a little more air resistance. So Lanner Falcons are not as fast as peregrines. They're not as gamey as peregrines, but they're perfectly serviceable, wonderful falconry birds. I do recommend them, especially if you're outside of the United States and you can get some good breeding stock. I definitely do recommend Lanner Falcons. They're incredible birds. I think we should be breeding them more just because of their rich history from ancient Egypt. I mean, it's the dawn of husbandry, of working with raptors. So yeah, I do love them. And I will always take one if I ever have the opportunity, but again, not as gamey as a peregrine. So if your goal is just to successfully go after game, especially flying from a pitch, go with a peregrine. And with that, let's get into peregrines and their human interaction. Peregrine falcons live everywhere. So just about every part of the world that falconry has come about and has open country and game to hunt, people have used peregrines. Peregrines are the perfect falcon for hunting from a pitch. You can hunt off the fish too. A saker's better at that. A saker, you know, going directly. But if you're going to get your falcon to wait on, circle above you, and then you flush up game, they dive down and catch it in a classic style, Peregrine Falcon is the best. Not only because of their capabilities, but also because their mentality. Their mind understands that form of falconry, and they very quickly pick that up and stick close and have sort of a sense of loyalty. Like, hey, I just need to keep flying around this guy, and he's going to flush something up. Where a lot of other falcons, they'll do that for a bit and they get bored. You haven't flushed something, I'm going to go off and just kind of wander off. And you know, gyr falcons, saker falcons, you know, they all do that. Prairie falcons, they go wandering. You're like, what are you doing? Come on, we're stick on the game right here. So in that way, peregrine falcons are amazing. Now, I've said this before, and I will always preach this again. Because peregrine falcons are the perfect falcon, if you put it into anything else, it will improve it. So any hybrid that has peregrine in it, it is an improvement. Gyr peregrine, it's got peregrine in it, it's better than a pure gyr. Gyr saker, peregrine saker, it's a better bird. Peregrine Lanner, which I've flown, it's a really incredible species, better bird. Any falcon that you put peregrine falcon into, it will perform better. So why not just get a peregrine then? I mean, you know, if it's that but of course there's other reasons why to fly hybrid. For example, gyr peregrines, a pure peregrine is not the best bird for taking down sage grouse because sage grouse are so huge, especially the late season birds. You know what? It's better to cross it. A gyr would be perfect, but gyrs are cantankerous. So cross a gyr with a peregrine, fly a male. You got something that's as big as a male gyr falcon, but it's got some of the loyalty and intelligence and abilities of a peregrine. So that's kind of the thinking in that way. Peregrines do have a rich history in falconry, again, everywhere in the world. I grew up mostly here. Oh, Moose is on the move. He's a little further away. I just got to make sure he doesn't charge me. So basically, in medieval falconry, peregrine falcon was kind of the falcon. Now, gyr falcons were also highly prized, but they were so highly prized that it's almost like, do you want to fly it? Because you might lose it. And they're not very loyal. It's kind of as much as a royal gift or a status symbol as anything. People did hunt with gyrs in Europe, but a peregrine falcon is more available and way easier to hunt. So peregrine falcon's really the best way to do it. I wish just everywhere that has them in big numbers, I wish that the laws everywhere you're at was just like, hey, trap a migrating peregrine, fly it for the fall and winter, and set it free in the spring and let it migrate up north and find a mate and start a family. Like, why not? They train so easily. When I talk to the old-timer falconers, like back in the 50s, 60s, 70s, who were trapping them on the beaches, like on Assateague Island and in the Gulf of Mexico, they were eating off the fish that very night. You know, you trap them, and then you get home and you're like, okay, we're gonna. And they just train so quick. They learn so easily. I don't know why, but genetically, peregrines just get falconry. They understand it. And I think that is why they make incredible birds. So, to kind of wrap up these species, Lanners and peregrines. Peregrines are not part of the hierofalcon group, but they have conquered the world. They live just about everywhere. They're amazing for falconry. Any ecosystem that has them is a good, solid, thriving ecosystem. Lanner falcons have a broad range that has reduced in the past 500,000 years. It has reduced some, which is sad to know. And it's definitely most of Western Europe, Northwestern Europe, they're basically not there anymore, where they used to be, like in medieval times. So that's kind of sad to know. But again, pretty amazing how broad of a range they are. Lanner falcons, good falconry birds. Peregrine falcons, literally the best big falcon to fly in a traditional flight style. I fly Lanner falcons because I'm passionate about them. And again, if you're given a choice between the two and you are about, I want to be having an epic hunting bird and a great hunting partner, get a peregrine. If you are wanting a bird that is hopefully loyal and not as gamey and aggressive as a peregrine, but still an amazing bird with rich history, get a Lanner. And I just wish we had more Lanners in America because I love them dearly. So I've said this for like the past 3 years. I'm trying to make a the-all, end-all Lanner Falcon video. I'm trying to find people from around the world who can send me photos and videos like of Lanner Falcons in their country, their captive bred ones, whatever, just so I can document all the different subspecies and talk to different people and hear, okay, what's your story? What's it work like for you? So I know I brought this up before in past videos, but if you're willing to, let me know down in the comments below, or you could send me an email at benwooderfalconry@gmail.com. I haven't checked that email for like a month now, and I need to get to it. But if you want to reach out there, and at some point, I'm going to make an epic end-all Lanner Falcon video so that people can just have that as a reference for years to come. So I hope you enjoyed this video. It's a subject I'm passionate about, and I cannot believe that I haven't done this particular subject yet, because again, these are my two favorite falcons, and I'm surprised that I haven't. So, if you haven't already, if you could hit subscribe, I very much appreciate it. I'm going to start doing live streams soon because we hit the 60,000 subscriber mark, and I want to keep that up. I want to keep getting more subscribers and more people connecting, and so we're going to start doing live streams very soon. I'll make an announcement on that. But until then, again, if you haven't already, hit subscribe, and as always, happy hawking.